Hello, this is Josh Patel back again with another biology lesson. Today we will be doing chapter 28, which is human systems and homeostasis. So 28.1 is levels of organization. So the human body has 5 levels of organization. So specialized cells develop from a single zygote, and organisms are made of specialized cells. So some specialized cells would be red blood cells and nerve cells. We also have white blood cells, and there's many, many more. So zygotes first divide into embryonic stem cells. So a zygote is basically a fertilized egg. So we start out with an egg, and once a sperm fertilizes it, it becomes a zygote. And then the cells start splitting up. So the zygote will split into two, and then the two cells will split into four, and it keeps going until we get a blastocyst. And once we get here, the cells divide up into 3 layers, which eventually become that develop into the baby. So stem cells develop in 2 stages. Stem cells are basically cells that can become any part of the body themselves. So scientists are actually currently doing research on these to try to use them to basically rebuild things. So we have determination or committing to become one cell type, differentiation or acquiring specialized structures and functions. Example would be muscles. Example is cardiac muscle, skeletal muscles, smooth muscle cells. So they can become any one of the specialized cells basically. Specialized cells function together into tissues, organs, organ systems, and the whole organism. So specialized cells perform specific tasks. So here we have a cell. Tissues are groups of similar cells working together. So here we have a tissue. And so these layers or this hierarchy is very important, and usually biology classes do a lot of work with these to try to get you to remember which one goes where in the organization. So at the lowest level we have cells, and then from cells we go to tissues. And tissues are groups of cells. Okay, so then here's some examples of tissues. So then from tissues we go to organs. So organs are the different tissues working together. So basically an organ is a group of tissues. So there's a cell, and then tissue is a group of cells, and then organ is a group of tissues. Organ systems are groups of organs, so are 2 or more organs working together, and then organism is all the organ systems working together. So there are 11 major organ systems in the human body, and so these are all of them. We're not have to learn any detailed into them. We have the circulatory, the digestive, the endocrine, excretory, immune, integumentary, muscular, nervous, reproductive, respiratory, and skeletal. So, mechanisms of homeostasis. Homeostasis is the regulation and maintenance of the internal environment. So it's basically like the AC of our body. Conditions within the body must remain within a narrow range. Homeostasis involves keeping the internal environment within a set range. So we try to keep our body at a stable temperature, stable conditions. Control systems help maintain homeostasis. So sensors gather data about internal and external conditions. They relay messages out into info about that info to a control center. Control center receives data from sensors, sends messages, and compares these to set values. So then we have the communication system, which delivers messages to target organs, tissues through either nerves or blood, and tells organs how to respond. So basically get messages from our sensitive, which tells us maybe we're cold, and then the control center receives these messages and sends them out to other body parts and other organs to help maintain the temperature we need. So targets received messages respond to change and helps restore homeostasis or increase a change. So negative feedback loops are necessary for homeostasis. Feedback compares current conditions to set ranges. Negative feedback counteracts changes. So we have, okay, let's start here. O2, CO2 level returns to normal. So we have a normal level. We're at our set stage where we should be. Holding breath, CO2 levels rise. So we're losing oxygen in our body. We have more CO2. So control system forces an exhale and inhale, so it forces us to breathe, and so we return back to normal, and it's a cycle that keeps happening. So positive feedback increases change. Torn vessel stimulates release of clotting factors. Okay, that wasn't that important. So interactions among systems. 28.3. A key concept is systems interact to maintain homeostasis. So basically all our different organ systems interact and they all work together to create homeostasis. Each organ system affects other organ systems. An organ system must do a specific job. So a specific job may be to breathe. So the respiratory system's specific job is to help us breathe, and then the cardiovascular system is to help transport things throughout the body. So organ system must also work together to keep the organism healthy. So maybe the respiratory system breathes in oxygen, and then the circulatory system circulates the oxygen throughout the body. Organ systems must also work together to keep the organism healthy. Organ systems work together to produce vitamin D, okay, and this isn't that important. So the distribution of homeostasis can be harmful. A disruption. Homeostasis can be disturbed for several reasons. So we have the sensor fail, targets do not receive messages, injury and illness. So maybe a sensor fail. There are certain people that are born with failed nerves, so they can't really feel anything. So maybe they might touch a hot stove and they wouldn't feel it, and so they can't send a message to their brain or the control center that tells them they're touching a hot surface. So they're not going to remove their hand, they're going to keep it there. But they don't know, but they're still getting hurt, but they just don't feel the pain. Their hand's still going to be burnt, but they don't feel the pain. So that would be like maybe sensor fail. And then the targets do not receive the messages would also be a nerve problem, and basically you can't tell and you can't control what your body does. So control center example would be the hypothalamus receives information, compares it to a set range of body temperatures, and sends messages to counteract the changes. And the hypothalamus is just a part of the brain. So communication center, another example is nerves and circulatory system carry messages to a target organ to tell them how to respond to a change. And then the target's messages activate sweat glands, so it dilates blood vessels in skin, increases heart and breathing rate. So this would be to cool down or to heat up, depending on what it is. And so it basically tries to bring the body's temperature back to a normal stage. Short-term disruption usually causes little or no harm. Long-term disruptions can cause more damaging results. So diabetes is a serious long-term disruption of homeostasis. So pancreas cells attacked, insulin declines. So you don't produce as much insulin, so the blood glucose levels rise. And body burns fat, blood more. So body burns fat and blood becomes more acidic due to the sugar. And then number 4, cells impaired, all organs damaged. So this is long-term. So that's the end of chapter 28, which was all about human systems and mostly about homeostasis and basically how our body fights to keep us alive. And so join us next time on chapter 29.